I'm going to go ahead and play this thing and see what happens. Clicking on the render button, and we're just watching the rough stills, kind of taking mental notes at this point about what potentially needs to change, what's working, what's not working. Now I noticed there, I like that expression. And you may have noticed the hold on that in the example, and I'm definitely going to accentuate that hold with that kind of wild expression of excitement. I noticed there that I kind of like stopped the pour and then restarted with a different cup, so I'm going to need to cut some frames out there. Couple registration things that I'll cut out also. But overall, working fairly well for this simple shoot. And here it is in real time, just the rough stills. It's also a little fast, and that's one thing I'm very big on with digital stuff. It's like we can retime stuff. And in terms of polishing stop motion or polishing pixelation, which is just a version, obviously, of stop motion, retiming the animation is huge and something that just didn't exist, 15 years ago. At least not in terms of the ease that is available with the digital production methods, and it's very valuable. So in the olden days, you shot on ones, you shot on twos, you could push it and go experimental with threes, fours, fives, and sky's the limit type of thing. Well, here, we can plan, but we can also tweak, and we have full control over retiming the animation after the fact, which is pretty cool. And at the end of the day, it's what works, and you as the director and editor together need to decide what works in terms of the visual style that you're going for. So we're definitely going to retime this thing, and we're probably going to end up the equivalent of shooting on threes. So we are going to start by scrolling through this thing, and yeah, there is the I want the beginning to actually be probably right here. So I'll start by just taking the front end off of that, and this is my zoom. I'll zoom into that and pop that over. So we just did a little quick edit there, cut the first couple frames off, and I'm just checking myself, looks good. And again, I knew I liked that little hold thing. That was one of the first things that jumped out at me. So I'm going to find that time. There it was. Okay, it's right around there. And there it is. Okay, so I'm going to Command D to duplicate the layer, and in After Effects it's a little fussy, but it works in terms of making an edit. So I just duplicated the layer. I'm going to pull this side back that way. I'm going to pull the front end this way, and then I'm going to zoom in to make sure I got the mark, which I did. And I want to hold on that. I could output a still image if I wanted to, but I don't. I'm just going to duplicate this thing and repeat the process. And then I can just duplicate 5 of those, whatever, and then I can just spread them out. And let's see. I'll pull my little timing bar up so I don't have to watch the whole thing. We'll render out just the part that we want to see. Slight hold, that's looking pretty good. Shaved off the front end, made a quick edit there. I'm going to bring my progress bar over here. Click on the render button. Let's watch this. Okay. So I'm just clicking through one frame at a time. Now I can see there that there's obviously a registration problem. So there's the cup. There it is, the black cup. And then notice I go back and then I come forward. So there's a frame in there that I need to delete. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull it and pull it, check it, and then I'm going to find it, which it is right there. And I'm just going to back that off. I just deleted it. After Effects, that red line always looks forward in time. So that's the frame we don't want. And then we'll even just make sure, yeah, that's it. And then we'll just pull that back. And now we should end up with a cleaner registration. And let's play that and see. I think that's good. I want to watch a little bit more of it though. I'm going to try to see what it would look like. Oops. I pushed the wrong button. I pushed this one, which takes me to the end of the composition, the last frame. I wanted this one. I'm going to see what it will look like jumping from into that frame. So I'm going, because that's a duplicate. We got that frame. Those are duplicates. Okay, so I'm going to try it, and let's see what it looks like with this one. No, so we will, but maybe because it had those 2 frames, maybe that's what I was seeing. Yeah, whatever. I know that's not a big difference, but okay, so that's working. And now we're just scrolling through this thing. And I know I saw that the pour, because I changed mugs during the pouring, so I know that that's going to be a point that I need to edit. So again, we'll kind of drag this over, and we will duplicate and drag and drag, and let's play that. Okay, so and these are great. These time controls are great, you know, to go one frame at a time. Obviously, that's huge. See, you can see my hand kind of like, even on that white cup, it's stopping the pour. So I want to even get rid of those. So there it is. There, I want to get rid of that frame. So that is my last pour shot with the white cup. Pull that out one more frame and go back again. There, we'll try taking it all the way out to there. And let's watch that. I don't like that. It looks weird. Pull out a few more frames. And as you can see, you know, as I'm editing this thing, I'm kind of experimenting. I like that a lot better. With taking frames out, leaving them in, this kind of thing. All right, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to save this thing, which I should have done a long time ago, but I didn't, which is probably typical, right? But it shouldn't be. So I'm going to go into AE projects, and I am going to call this thing Hi Coffee Project 1. I'm in my AE folder, and I'm going to save it. Okay, so trucking along, and that looks pretty darn good. Alright, and then you can see I kind of moved over a little bit there. There's some registration stuff. Actually looks pretty good. I'm going to go frame by frame. Yeah, there's kind of some weird stuff in there. But nothing too bad. It actually looks fairly good. I think when I slow it down, it's going to look a little weirder, which let's do that now. I'm going to nest this composition. I'm going to go into composition, new composition, and yeah, let's make it the new one 40 seconds, 40 0 0, and then I'm going to take comp 1 and drop it into comp 2, and that just like throws everything together, and all this stuff is still live from my last composition. So if I go back to comp 1, I can still change any of this if I wanted to. And then we're gonna make this longer. Layer, time stretch. And I think 300 is where I want to go with this thing. That might be way too long. But let's watch it. Let's see what it looks like on. Basically, this would have been shooting on 3s. So for every picture, we're going to see every picture 3 times. So there'll be 3 pictures instead of 1. So we'll check this out. I also noticed my composition isn't long enough. So 40 seconds actually wasn't even long enough. So I'm going to press the space bar and just kind of see how that looks. That looks a little slow to me. And I think I shot the beginning, my movements were slower than later. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that layer. And let's add some more time. Composition settings. And let's add, see if that does it. Yeah. Okay, just put 55 seconds. Then we'll close this up. And this is where I talk about retiming. This I'm going to leave at layer time stretch. I'm going to leave this thing at 200, which is on 2s. And then we'll leave this part on 3s. And it is usually animation, even if you were shooting stop motion and had this thing X'd out on your X sheets, it's still going to be a combination of 1s and 2s, maybe even some 3s, some holds, some digital holds like I made back here, where I probably should have got those. If this was a stop motion thing, should have got my holds in real time, and usually I would have, but hey, maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed the hold and just decided it needed the hold. I'm going to put it in there, and that's fine. And that's polishing it up. Okay, so I've got this section on 2s, this section on 3s, and I'm going to take my progress bar and tighten it up a little bit and watch this part. I'm going to press the space bar and just kind of see what I got there. Yeah, 3s is looking, I don't know. Looking a little slow-mo. So yeah, let's try the whole thing on 2s and see. I know I put some of it on 3s on that final thing, so we will see. We're kind of like reverse engineering what I did to get the final thing. So yeah, now we're at 2s, the whole thing. Yeah, you can see my movements are slower there, and then they start kind of getting a little faster. But let's keep it rendering. We'll render out a little more. It's like a weird little pop. Yeah, I guess just a big movement on my part. So I'm just pressing the space bar to watch it. The green line that you're seeing here is indicating the rendering that's happening, and I can watch part of it and then continue that render. And it only is going to render what's between the bar. So it's trying to render the whole thing. And it's just a terribly time-consuming process. If you've used After Effects, you realize this. Okay, moving along here. It's getting there. It's trying. All right, let's watch that. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So the whole thing on twos, I think, is working. Um, and that's the whole thing. There it is. What happened there? Okay, I ended up with a bad frame somehow. Maybe when I slowed it down, I'm not sure. But you can see that that frame wasn't supposed to be there. As it went from the black cup to the white cup. So I'm going to duplicate this. Zoom in on it. And there it is. And I'll just back that off and tighten that up, and then let's just watch that little. I'm going to go back to my other composition and see. Yeah, that looks better to me than this one. I lost some frames. Something weird happened. So yeah, that was terrible. I'm gonna go ahead and go into composition, new composition. Say okay. I'm gonna nest comp 1 into comp 3 and layer time stretch. I'm going to make the whole thing 200 because that's what we decided anyways was what was working. And let's watch that little bit that was causing problems. Let's see if that fixes it. Yeah, something got woo, tweaked out in something just got tweaked, which happens. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I need to lock the end of this thing down. I'm actually going to go into composition settings one more time and go into 13000 minute 30 and lock the end of this thing down, which is right there. And I think I want to end it on that before I do that second expression. Right there. I'm going to save my project, file save. Then I'm going to zoom in and close this thing down. And this is pretty much it. I'm going to duplicate some more frames though. So I'm going to duplicate these last little frames here. So I'm just going to do Command D and just isolate that last little segment there. And this is a trick I like to use when I'm duplicating. I'll flip this around, so I'll just go layer, time reverse layer, and duplicate that, and then I'll reverse that back. Layer time, get that one back to normal. And let's watch that and just see. Good, that works for an ending.